under 23 foreign players. And if we look at the, Rivero from Real Madrid Academy and all the hype that came along, was he good enough? Absolutely not. Was he the game changer? Absolutely not. So did he take a spot away from, from another Canadian maybe shining at that level? Maybe even Jace Katsopoulos getting more minutes? Absolutely. So these are the things that they need to readjust as a league as well. What kind of impact have the players made? What kind of impact has this mandated under 23 foreign rule made? And is it going to be, that diamond in the rough that they're going to find and sell to the MLS or sell to back to Europe? I'm not so sure that they have the right recipe for success in what they're set out to do with these under 23 foreigners. And it is a Canadian league built for Canadians, for Canadian coaches and for Canadian players. So that's what the preaching has been for. So let's be a little more selective in who we bring in. And let's be a little more selective in these foreigners. Sure, if they're sellable. I mean, you look at a Joao Morelli for Halifax. He came in, and I think that he's shown value, not only making the league better and Halifax better, but I think that maybe you can find a spot as a TAM in MLS, or so there's different situations, but most of it, if you look at the big picture of how it's happened, it's been the usual suspects that have been the best players, and the best players have mostly been Canadian.
And you brought up some of the contract situations there. Do you see a situation where Luca Gasparotto, he played a lot of minutes in this tournament, he's been solid in the back. Do you think he'll find his way into MLS?
You know what? If you look at the center back situation, even in our backyard, right? He's a 94 born, 95 born. So he's 24, 5 years old. A lot of upside, a lot of development. Does he fit the athletic mode of the CBs in MLS? Not so sure. Does he have the brain? Does he have the technique coming out of the back? Is he better than a Dayan right now that's playing major minutes for LAFC? Yeah, I would say so. I think there's more of an upside to him. There's no doubt in my mind that if Luca Gasparotto gets the opportunity to go to MLS, and on that stage, he will be great. He will be great. And if you surround him with players that have that leadership, have that organizational value, I think he'll be even better. So for me, does Luca Gasparotto have the ability to play at MLS? Absolutely. Does he fit the mold? Will he grasp someone's eyes right from the beginning? I don't know. But given the opportunity, beside a good leader, a good older center back, I think Luca would be a really good MLS player for sure.
And another player also, it's going to be an interesting situation, is Ryan Telfer, because he came in, there was unfinished business with York 9, wanted to get that championship, but he failed to score, get on the score sheet. Wasn't the same season he had in the first year. He was in Iceland originally when he had that transfer. So is this going to be another situation where we'll see him again in York 9?
He was in Cyprus. So when he left York 9, he got transferred to a first division team in Cyprus, and that was an eye-opening experience for him. And then COVID hit, so he really didn't have a massive taste of European football. But as far as the North American market's concerned, Ryan will be pursued by maybe a couple MLS teams, but a lot of USL teams where it seems to be a good market right now. So in the end, he has become a foreigner in the MLS because of his status, which is ridiculous that he's a Canadian player in CPL, but a Trinidadian player in MLS. So there's a lot of questions about that. But if he did not have that status, I know of 4 teams that would have picked him up for sure right away. But I don't think that he would that would be such an issue in USL. So I think that there's going to be a lot of interest from USL, and I think that there's going to be a lot of interest again in CPL. It's just where he thinks that his future is going to go. I mean, 26 years old now. Where does he want to see himself in 2 years when he hits his prime? Is he going to want another experience in Europe? That's going to be a possibility. Is Angus McNabb trying to re-sign him and trying to give him the opportunity to get a loan in Europe, probably, if he's smart enough to do that. I think that Ryan Telfer will find his way if he wants to be a footballer. I think that he in the USL he will excel and do very well, and that might propel him to another MLS contract. But I'm not sure the MLS is going to be all over him right away, again, because of his foreign status.
Yeah, and like as a coach, like what would you I guess recommend? Like should he just be in the top flight league in Canada, or should he go down to, I guess, the second division like USL and battle it out with some of the academy players and MLS franchises?
Well, there's the thing about Ryan is there's no question about his ability. There's no people don't question his ability. People question his in and outness of games. And that has a lot to do with the atmosphere that Ryan's in, and his level of tactical maturity. Obviously, with TFC, he had a wingman role, he had a wide role, and he's kind of been handcuffed to that role moving out throughout. But I think Ryan's at his best when wherever he's on the field, has the ability to dictate tempo. I mean, at York, obviously the level was different. We played him as an 8, and he got up and down, box to box, and was involved in 80% of the actions, and he stood out. With TFC, you could see that the 20 or 30% of the actions that he was involved with, 1 out of 3 were good, but that's not enough for him. For the York 9 situation, asking him to track back and play a kind of man-oriented defending system might not be the best for him, because obviously he's going to listen to what his responsibilities are, and he did do a lot of work defensively. And in the offensive third, he really didn't get at people. He really didn't have the presence. But for me as a coach, Ryan Telfer defends well by being in a free role. They're not going to send that right back so high, or they're not going to attack with that right back if Ryan Telfer is kind of drifting midfield, because they know that when he gets it, he could be dangerous in transition. So I think that Ryan Telfer is an impact player for sure in CPL and in USL for sure. And I think that he needs to learn to be a proper role player, like he did for spurts with Toronto FC in an MLS environment. But are you going to spend the money, or are you going to spend that allocation for a foreign player to be a good role player in the MLS? Not so sure.
And speaking of teams, taking out a lot of money, spots being available, I know Edmonton's coaching position is available. Is your cell phone ringing for a job offer?
No, I think Jeff still has a strong hold on what happens in the soccer operations there. I think Sean Fleming has proven that he's a very good coach. Will that be the voice that they need to change? I think Sean and Jeff will make a decision, club-oriented decision. I think that they're club people, they're Edmonton people. They helped grow the community as a football community. There's a lot of good candidates out there. So I think that Jeff and Sean will do what's best for the organization, and I honestly believe that they're staples in the community, and they put club before themselves even.
Yeah. Just in case anyone's wondering, go search up Carmen Asako on Wikipedia. Look at all the accomplishments at York. Give them that $1 million offer. We'll persuade you to go there, Carmen.
There you go. I used to play in Edmonton. I used to play for the Drillers, so I know the city well. I enjoy the city. I love the city, to be honest. So I don't think it's going to happen by any means, but I would welcome the opportunity to be with an Edmonton organization, because it's a good place. It's a great soccer place for sure.
There you go. It'd be full circle. You have ties to the community. Everything's working well there. Nice homecoming there. But just as you talk about the Edmonton homegrown talent there, just what is the academy system like there on the west coast of Canada compared to how things are run even here in Ontario?
Well, in Edmonton, there's few clubs, but do a very good job. my old coach with the Edmonton Drillers with Inter FC Inter, which is a very strong youth development club. They've developed a lot of great female programs and male programs. And you look at the Edmonton-based teams or the Alberta-based teams at national championships at the club level. I mean, they're always very high talented teams. And you look at the difference between the Alberta Calgary teams and the Edmonton teams. They're the Edmonton teams are very culturally based, so they're very technical based. They're very they all have the influence of the Croatian community or the Italian community or Hispanic community, and Alberta is like Calgary, very direct, very strong, very fast, very not, we won't call it simple, but very athletically based, and they route one direct soccer. So I think that the communities in Alberta, they clash as far as styles, but they complement as far as competition for sure. And Edmonton's been no slouch. And we talked about Sean Fleming and the work he's done, not only in the Edmonton community with the club system, but with the national team. He's qualified for World Cups with our national U17s, I believe, in 2 or 3 cycles. So there's a lot of quality, and there's a lot of quality coaches and a quality minds about developing programs there. But they also have a lot of history. The Edmonton Italians, Angelo Sestito, names like this. When I played there, at Edmonton Drillers, there was a strong base of Edmonton players, local homegrown players that were very talented. Ricky Zaneri, all kinds of players. When I was with the Olympic team, he was with the Olympic team. And then you look at the Calgary obviously has the quality and the different type of style. But Edmonton is a great soccer city. There's not many clubs, but the few clubs cater to the many, and they've developed some very good talent out there for sure.
Yeah, that's good to hear there. And speaking of like the Alberta market, Calgary continuing looking strong now in the second phase of the Island Games tournament. Is Tommy Wilden side, do you think, the favorite now with the remaining 4 teams?
Yeah, I would say so. I think the beating that Pacific took was was very impressive. But you can't count out for sure. Halifax, again, hard done by, terrible penalty call. And I guess as the level in the CPL gets better, I think our refereeing situation needs to get better as well. And I think the fact that referees are getting more meaningful games and making meaningful mistakes, they're going to make them better. Dave Barry, who I consider a friend, had a tough tournament, hasn't been great at all. But I know that he will make himself better, and one day will be, an MLS referee as well. So there's a lot to be desired in the quality of refereeing that's been at the Island Games for sure. But that's part of the process of the Canadian game in its grand scope. Games need to be more meaningful. Situations need to be more meaningful. I mean, you tell Stephen Hart that right now, that it's a development process, he'll probably, look to punch me in the face. And but they did a fantastic job against Forge, who's looking a little discombobulated. But, there's a group there that have been together for a long time. They know each other emotionally. They know each other tactically. They know each other technically. So they know what it takes to win games. And I think Bobby knows how to pull the strings, do the tactical situation properly. And, I think that they're going to be at their best when they need to be at their best. So will Calgary. So I can't foresee anything else but them two in playing each other one more time. But, kudos to Pacific and kudos to Halifax, who've played a very good brand of soccer and probably have a little bit of magic in there. But Akeem Garcia still has to find that scoring touch and continue. But yes, to answer your question, Calgary is definitely a favorite. They have a lot to deal with. Pasquati may be out with a knee injury now. They've dealt with, obviously, the Pimentel situation and his broken leg and ankle. Unfortunate for him. Oliver's a very good player and very important for that group. You know, Oscar Camargo, you don't know what his situation is. So there's a lot of ifs, ands, buts, but there's always been for Calgary, and they've always found a way.
And yeah, like just even mentioning like Pacific and coming in Halifax, like coming into the tournament, a lot of people were probably expecting York 9 to be in that spot, but we saw Pacific make that rally there. And the play of Marco Bustos has been really good in this tournament. A lot of people consider him the MVP of it. What do you see out of Marco Bustos? And is he maybe going to attract a lot of attention from other CPL teams? Could we see like another CPL team have a bidding war to get his services?
I mean, I think Marco Bustos has made a claim to get into that MLS. I mean, could he help Vancouver Whitecaps? Could he help in spots? You know, obviously, his change of pace is MLS for sure. His ability to score goals is MLS for sure. His motor, his engine, I mean, and the influence of Ka as a coach and his motivation has obviously brought the best out of Marco Bustos. So, you know, I'd like to see Marco Bustos get another opportunity at that level because he's earned it for sure. But I do think that he is going to be the face of Pacific if he stays in the CPL for a long time. It's too bad that he didn't work out for his hometown in Winnipeg. But I think that the influence of good surroundings, and not to say Winnipeg's bad surroundings by any means, but the influence of someone like his coach made a massive difference for him and what he means to that team. And he's a perfect example with you give someone responsibility and see how he reacts. For me, he's been the best player for sure at these Island games. And 85th minute, you need a goal, and he does magic. That's what you see. That's what he's been all about so far in this small sample size at the Island Games.
That was the CPL portion. We're gonna throw things now to Serie A in the Italy league. I don't know about Juventus what they're doing, but it looks like Sami Khedira doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want the little contract buyout, so he's gonna stay on their books. If you're Pirlo now, what do you do with Khedira?
Oh, Pirlo's going to have to find out how to win with this group. And it's not going to be about Pirlo. He needs to understand that. It's not going to be about the perceptual or the aesthetics of the situation because Juventus has never been part of that. Juventus has always found a way to grind out situations. You look at the two faces of the team and Bonucci and Chiellini. Not the most attractive players in the world, but they find a way to get it done. So Khedira I think, getting rid of Pjanic, he's important to this group. And I think that he needs to play in situations and yeah, he may not, make that outside of the foot curving ball for Ronaldo for a goal, but he will make sure that, a player like Gomez on Atalanta doesn't get free, or he wins that second ball off of a header, or he wins headers. That's important to the game, and I think Pirlo's gonna learn that. And I think that if he uses what the positives are of Khedira, I think that they can be successful by being Juventus. Is he going to change the culture and the what Juventus is as far as the way they play? Which I think that Agnelli's looking for because he brought in Sarri to do exactly that. But I think for the Sarri situation, the way Juventus needs to win kind of trumped the way Sarri wants to play aesthetically beautifully. So, Pirlo, number one, has come in and earned the respect of his players because of who he is as a player. Has he earned the respect of his him as a tactician or preparation? His preparation, I'm not sure so yet. But I think when he realizes things and reality sets in, the Juventus way may take over the Pirlo way as far as the beautiful picture that's painted.
And speaking of like powerhouses right now, that it looks like Inter could make another run there for that Scudetto. Arturo Vidal, though, coming in, do you think that's a right fit for their group and the way that Conte wants to play?
I think he was Conte as a player. I think Arturo Vidal is exactly what he wants. I also think that he may give up an Eriksen and maybe even someone else for Conte at Chelsea, because he's kind of becoming redundant there at Chelsea. So I think that I don't think that the moves are done just yet. And I think that Inter is Conte and Conte is Inter right now. I think his mentality, the way he wants to play, and the players he's bringing in are strong, fast, committed, courageous. But that's why I'm not sure Eriksen fits into the mold anymore. I don't know what he's going to do with Perisic. I believe Perisic is back from Bayern Munich. I think Perisic has the quality to help for sure. And I've been hearing that Brozovic might be one of those dangling carrots for the Conte deal, but let's hope not, because again, Brozovic has done a lot of things of quality that they need at this level. And obviously, Sensi doing so well with the national team, is he going to get opportunities to play more at Inter? Barella, there's so many players in that system that need to adapt themselves, but still have the quality for Conte. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I think that that Inter, the energy and the commitment is so massive that it's inevitable that they're going to have some downtimes. And are those downtimes going to be circumvented by the quality of the players coming off the bench, or the quality of the players giving the big time players a blow? So that's what we have to see. Is Vidal going to be that, one every 3 game person that's going to give them a new life, new energy? So that's what's yet to be seen. We saw that the downtrends last year were downtrends and hurt Inter big time. Let's see if they can manage those downtrends and those lapses, or that inability to play at that level of energy, and see if they can manage it.
Yeah, speaking of the top 5 in Serie A is probably going to look like Juventus, Inter, Lazio, Napoli. AC Milan, though, is making another run there. It looks like Zlatan's leadership might have a trickle-down effect on the group. With Lazio and with Immobile, the goals he scored last year, he's going to want to build on that and lead Lazio to a Scudetto, hopefully. But in terms of the top 10, is Atalanta's positioning maybe could it be in fault here? Could they look at being on the outside looking in when this is all done?
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks there. I mean, they've spent a lot of energy to be where they're at. And now some of their better players, like Papa Gomez, is getting aged, and who knows? There's rumors that he may take a contract in the Middle East and call it a day. Let's hope not, because I think he's got a lot of energy left in him. And they've lost. They haven't really replaced Castagna, who went to Leicester at the left back position. So there's a lot of question marks. And again, obviously, the mental health of their Slavic striker is going to be massive, right? He's back with Atlanta. Is he going to be what he was last year? Is he going to be their leading scorer? So that is a massive question mark for Ilicic and how he comes into form for Atlanta. And obviously Zapata, he's at the level where he should be at his best right now. And those are the question marks that they have. But I think the continuity of the managership, the continuity of the way they play, the continuity and the expectation should be enough to keep them in the top 4.
So that's the CPL and Serie A portion of the soccer show. Now we're going to go to MLS, and we welcome in John Nelson of OSG Sports in Atlanta. John, how you doing?
What's going on, guys? It's another Friday, which means we're getting ready for the Prem now. We're getting ready for MLS. We've got dates and games being announced for the beginning of Section 4, 3 matches, and we've got another handful that are going to be coming up down the line. So it should be a fun sprint.
Yeah, and we'll start off with that because that was a big news there with all these MLS teams now. It looks like Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. It's going to be south of the border for them going forward. So what are you hearing on what this is going to mean for MLS Cup? Is it just going to be these 3 games? Do they have maybe plans of going and having more games stationed in other cities? Like, what's the overall picture?
Yeah, no, we're this is just the next batch. This is part of segment 4. The plan is, if I'm not mistaken, that you're still going to have another 9 matches that are set to be put up on the board, and they've also tweaked the format of the playoffs in the East because of the 10 teams that are going to be in it. You've got the top 6 in the East will go in automatically. 7 through 10 will do the first round playoff thing. Will be 7, 10, 8, and 9, and then those 2 will go up. Lowest seeding team advancing out of the play-in round will play the number 1 seed, and then the highest seeding team will play the number 2 seed. No play-in round in the West because there's going to be 8 teams there. So after today's announcement of 3, there should be another 9 that'll come down the line, and then they'll figure it out from there. But the early returns are that Toronto is going to be playing a home match against Columbus at Rentschler Field in Hartford. Montreal is heading to Red Bull Arena, and it looks like Vancouver's heading to Providence Park for their home game this time around.
Yeah, this is I actually want to get your opinions on this too, because Pity Martinez took the nice offer. It was a nice stay in MLS. What were your thoughts on him leaving now?
Absolutely should have taken it. I mean, you're talking generational money. I mean, you're going to be making €4.5 million, and this is one of the reports that was out there. There's nothing concrete that was released by Al Nasser, but when you can make €4.5 million on the season, when you're making probably 25% of that playing in MLS, it's generational money. I mean, if you have the chance to be there on a 3 or 4 year deal and you're making €18 million by the time you're done, and you're able to help out your family, you're able to help out your previous clubs with the sell-on fees and things like that. Al Nasser is spending a boatload of money. They finished 2nd in the Saudi League this past year, but they're also getting ready for Asia Champions League. So they've got that to pay attention to, and they've got a stretch of, I want to say, 4 matches in a 2-week period to get back up to square. But completely and totally cool with Pity Martinez. When you get an offer like that, it's really money that you can't turn down.
Yeah, and we saw that here in Toronto with Jovinko, €11 million and Al Hilal. So for them, if they're going to be at that stage of their career, we're all right with it. All the best to them. But Carmen, I want to get your thoughts on Jozy Altidore. Toronto striker finally gets the goal. He quiets down the Montreal fans in attendance. As a coach, like how important is it to have your star striker get off that slump and score a big goal? And what do you think this means for Jozy going forward?
I think Jozy's immense to this organization. Him scoring goals is obviously expected and necessary for them to win, for sure, to win at the most important times. So Jozy's got to do what Jozy needs to do to get ready to be at his best when he's needed to be at his best, and that's the playoffs coming up. That's even playing 1 every 2 games and playing at a higher level. I think this whole break and his honestly his body has really affected his durability right now. I mean, he's still a very young man, so obviously there needs to be some changes in his, whether it's his lifestyle or whether it's because he looks heavy. He looks heavy. He looks kind of moving a little slower. But Altidore is more than what he is on the field for Toronto FC. Altidore is a mentor to Akinola and all the other players, and he's a proper coach, and he's a man of for me, very high standard integrity. So I think that's him being the face of Toronto FC as on and off the field, as a diplomat and as a striker. And you know what? To this day, I still don't question the fact that when we need him the most, he will be there.
Yeah. I agree with you there. And going on to strikers coming into the league, Inter Miami, who had a win there against Atlanta. Now they're going to have a bolstered attack with the addition of Gonzalo Higuain from Juventus. John, what do you think this means for Higuain now coming into Inter Miami's system? Do you think the team's going to go on a run now after this big win?
I think it's going to take a little while for Higuain to come up to full song. And I think that, and this is a point that I've made with Eduardo also on the weekends, is that if Blaise Matuidi and Gonzalo Higuain think that they're just going to come over to MLS, sit there, pick up a paycheck, and kind of cruise through things, they're in for a very rude awakening. And I think that, you're going to have folks in Major League Soccer sit there, and they're going to welcome both of them to Major League Soccer in the best way that they can, because this is MLS 3.0. This is not MLS 2.0. I think, and the jokes have been out there that Inter Miami and David Beckham better post guards at every Whataburger in South Florida because of Gonzalo Higuain and his habits. But if he's out of shape and he thinks he can just hop onto the pitch, it will show, because you're at Inter Miami Stadium, and it is not the most temperate place in the world. It is not 20 degrees and 10% humidity when you're going to be playing this time of year. So I think it's probably going to take a little while for Higuain to get to full song and get acclimated. But if he thinks he's just going to come in and sit there and say, yeah, I'm Gonzalo Higuain, puff out his chest, it's going to be a bit of a rude awakening very, very quickly.
And Carmen, what do you think about this? Because Gonzalo Higuain, he's had those kind of issues in the past with like fitness. This is a grind, the schedule. It's not like something where you're going around Italy. So what do you think of his transition?
I think the old adage is what you put into something is what you're going to get out of it. I don't think he's been at his best even in Serie A after he left Napoli. I think he's been resting on his laurels, but I think that he knows from his brother that this league is not a joke. Mind you, if he was in the West, I would be a little more worried about the center backs of the West than I am with the center backs of the East, to be honest. I think that he matches up better with the athleticism, and his movement off the ball is world class, obviously. But I think that John is spot on. I think that if he wants to come here and go through the motions, his legacy as he leaves, and I don't know if he cares about it because he's probably more interested in the money. But I mean, his legacy as he leaves won't be valued as much as it should be. So let's hope that he understands that what he's going to put into it is going to get out of it, and let's hope that he becomes someone that's invested in the success of this club.
Yeah, and that's an MLS portion. Now we're going to go to EPL opening weekend. John, we saw the EPL, like they had the return to play. Everything went fairly smoothly for them, and then the Champions League. So could the quality of play be a little bit better now this go around as they start the season compared to that return to play?
I think it might be something to look at. It might be the opposite, just because of that run that you had, not having the standard break and then having to come back in just as quickly. So I think that if you're a team, if let me phrase it this way: if you're Leeds, West Brom, or Fulham, this might be the chance early on in the year to jump on some of the big boys and get some key points that could keep you up by the end of it. Remember, the trigger is usually somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 points by the end of the year. And I think pretty much 90% of the time you're safe. So I think that, when you look at Leeds and Liverpool going at it this weekend, and Leeds, once again, doing my crunching the numbers portion of the show, Leeds is a plus 850 to win against Liverpool. Do I think that they would win against Liverpool? Not necessarily. I think they might be able to get a point out of it because you're looking at Bielsa going up against Klopp. I think that subplot is going to be even more fun to keep an eye on this season, with Marcelo Bielsa going up against the names of the Premier League, Bielsa and Jose Mourinho. I think that Leeds, for me, is my contender of those three to stay up. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if they finished mid-table, 12, 13, somewhere in there. But I think that for those teams coming up that didn't have the compression as much, that I think that they might have an opportunity here to get some points early on.
Yeah, that's Leeds is a great one. I was just looking at the roster and what they've been able to do since being promoted, even when they're in the championship. Very optimistic on their team, what they can do. Carmen, who's a team that you think could be under the radar, like a dark horse to maybe surprise some people in the EPL?
I think we know so much about the EPL. We get so much coverage that there really isn't a dark horse. We know what Man United has done in the last part of the season, and what their attacking options are. And Maguire as the new captain probably has earned the respect. So you know what they have, and they're one of the best. They're one of the best and most talented teams in the EPL. But then you look at Chelsea. You look at Chelsea with all the changes they've made, and how is Frank Lampard going to deal with Jorginho, Kai Havertz, Conte, Tammy Abraham, Pulisic? There's like, and is Zuma they're going to play beside Rudiger? Are they going to play a 3? Are they going to play? There's so many question marks. Alonso and Chilwell. So that's a talented team, but there's a lot of talent with a lot of organization and ego to deal with. So, you know what? I think that as far as quality, and this could be just because we see the Premier League more than anyone else. As far as quality, there's no league that matches it. Timo Werner, like there's so many great players, potential great players, and then you look at Arsenal's resurgence. So there's so many players there that have the quality to be the best, or have won championships in the Premier League and other places. That it's going to be that's just going to be an interesting scenario as is.
Let me give you one.
Yeah,
Everton, because of Ancelotti bringing in Hamas. That one for me might be, if you're looking for dark horses. I'm not saying that Everton is going to challenge for European football, but I think that what we saw last year when Carlo Ancelotti came in is a time of adjustment. He brings in Hamas for £22 million. That is a relative steal on the market right now. And I think that Everton could challenge top 10. I think they could kind of challenge for that 7 or 8. I don't think they'll get there. But for me, Everton would be a dark horse. But to Coach's point, because we know all of the changes, I think for me, and Coach, this goes to what you were talking about Chelsea, how does Frank Lampard manage all these new folks, considering that Marina Granovskaya, I sound like Norm Rumack here, Marina Granovskaya has been able to invest $250 million in the incoming transfers. Yes, they've gotten rid of some, and that's kicked some money out. But in this most recent window, you've spent £250 million bringing in all these guys. How can Frank Lampard manage all of that? That to me is the biggest question.
Yeah, I mean, and Everton, have they answered the question of goal scoring? I mean, you look at the past 2-3 years, Richarlison has been their leading goal scorer. Have they dealt? Is that enough? Is he that impact or that game changer? The players they brought in as character players. I think the character players will make a difference from 10th to 6th, maybe. But I'm the most interested to see is I love that Sheffield United team too. I love the way they play. I love the way they press. I love the way they attack. I'm just hoping that they can continue and get better as a group, because as far as appreciation of coaching, appreciation of mentality, appreciation of not giving a bleep, I think I love the way Sheffield United play, and I want to see them be successful.
I do too. And the thing that's got to me last season was the notion that when Chris Wilder came in and decided that he was going to stick with his 3-5-2, and everyone and their mother freaked out because I've never seen a 3-5-2 in the Premier League before. This is so novel of an idea. Oh my God. When it's really not. But what he's got, he had talented players that he came up from the championship. They stayed. They stuck with their system. They weren't intimidated by their surroundings. But I think the biggest key for me is in net for Sheffield United, because if you don't have Dean Henderson, who's back with Manchester United, and you have Aaron Ramsdale, who's come in from Bournemouth, I think for me that's a step down. And all the clean sheets that Henderson had last year, I think that it's going to be a challenge for Sheffield United defensively when Aaron Ramsdale in that, as opposed to Dean Henderson. But I like Chris Wilder. Had it not been for what we saw out of Liverpool, Wilder would have been my vote for coach for manager of the year in the Premier League last season. But I think when it comes to cracking that top 6 or 7, I think it's going to be the same deck chairs for me. Liverpool, Manchester City, and then you're looking at Chelsea and Man U and Spurs and Wolves and Leicester and Arsenal. So once you get past that 2 and maybe that first 4, then 5, 6, 7, 8, I think that's where the battle is.
Yeah, I can see that. And also, like, you're both bringing up great points there. Like James Rodriguez coming in, he's a bigger brand than the actual club. Like you look at the social media following, that's going to be massive for them. Hopefully it helps them elevate their brand, maybe attract some other players around Europe, South America. And then also Chelsea, like all those egos are going to be managing. That's why I think they brought in Thiago Silva, a guy who's had to deal with a lot of egos everywhere he's been. So he'll probably be relied on as that leader. But I'll start this off with Carmen. Liverpool last year kind of dominated everything, cruised to that top spot in the Premier League. Do you see them replicating that this year?
There's the possibility of them. I think that of doing that. I think that until they resolve the Wijnaldum situation, I think that that's going to be important too, because he is either an important player to the team or he's not a player to the team. Are they bringing in Thiago from Bayern? That for me would have been a difference maker as well. I think one, and the energy and the uncertainty, and Wijnaldum is an important player to that team, and Fabinho is the same important player to that team. So there's kind of a gray area in where they stand with the club, and I think that's very important. I think that not getting Thiago in, for the first part of the season is going to be hard for them. I think that a lot of what they do and a lot of what Klopp does, but Klopp is really well known to redefine himself and redefine how to win games. So it's not going to be a managerial situation, but he's committed to this way of playing, and he's been successful with it. But how are the players going to adapt to situations where they are more predictable than they ever were? Mo Salah has got away with the same actions time and time again. Even Sané, even Firmino, and how does he manage that group? And how do the middle three? Do they continue with a middle three? Do they add in another defensive midfielder? So there's a lot of questions. I think personally that a lot of what Liverpool does is going to get found out. Will they get found out against Leeds? Absolutely not. I think they're going to dominate that game. I think that's an ego game for them. And I think that the matchup Bielsa and Klopp, just like John just finished saying, is going to be driven by passion and emotion and that's going to be important. I think that Liverpool's just a better team right now than Leeds, and Leeds is going to get a sour welcoming into the Premiership. But I do think that there are teams there, and even lower level teams that can deal with Liverpool now. They know how to deal with Liverpool now. And I think the tactical awareness of managers in the Premiership has gone from, get stuck in, get balls in the box, let's win that second ball, blah, 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 to, very, very, very conscientious and tactically set up games. So I think that Liverpool isn't going to dominate as much as they did. Are they going to be top 4 for sure? But right now, it's the way they adapt to situations, the way they kind of redefine themselves, if Klopp wants them to be better, is what the question mark I have.
John, same thing to you?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the Horizon job that it was last year, considering that Manchester City lost 9 games last year, which is so completely and totally uncharacteristic of a Manchester City squad. I think that the margins will obviously be a lot closer. Probably by the end of it, maybe 4 or 5 points instead of the 70 billion points that Liverpool had last year in the standings and everybody else was chasing. I think it'll be a more exciting race this year. But European football schedule compression for all of these guys in the top 4 and 5 is going to be something to pay attention to, because, once again, you're trying to sit there and juggle all of these things. And it's going to be a test of your depth. It's going to be a test of your physios. It's going to be a test of your sports science staffs as well. So I think that right now for me, it's Liverpool, Man City, and then Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Manchester United, and then some gaggle at 5 through 8. But no, it will not be was it 16 points that it was last year? It won't be that much. It probably is going to be closer to 4 or 5 by the time we're done.
Yeah, that's the EPL. Now, a quick portion here on transfer rumors and ideas, suggestions here. One of the names has been Mario Balotelli, still out there. It seems like he's been getting interest from all over the world.
Go to
second divisions.
And get it over with.
Yeah, John, do you think he should just pick a team, go to MLS, or is he just holding out hope in Europe?
I'm sure that it's the latter, but I think that considering how fans have treated him in his last couple of stops and the immaturity that's been involved in that, I think that if he went to Montreal, and Coach and I talked about this, that if you go to Montreal, you will be adored. And if you're not, then it's a problem. But I think that Joey Saputo will be more than happy to give a player like Mario Balotelli anything that he would want to make himself feel comfortable. For Mario Balotelli to learn from Thierry Henry, I think would be something that would be a good challenge for Mario. So I think that it's a win-win. It's just trying to connect the dots in a salary cap league. And I think that that's probably the biggest issue here, because that Mario is going to want to get paid wherever he goes. And when you're in the European theater, it's a lot more as opposed to what you can get away with in MLS. Does he become a DP where you pay him $6 million a year, something like that? I mean, that's the range that you're talking about here, 6, 7, 8, the Vela dollars. So for me, it would be just talk to Joey Saputo, sit your agents down with Joey. Saputo will try to make sure that whatever he can do to bring in that firepower that Montreal doesn't have would help them out in this situation.
Carl, do you agree with that?
Yeah, we talked about that, and we talked about the best fit for Mario Balotelli as far as character, as far as mentality, as far as swagger. Montreal's a city with swagger. Montreal has had a massive history of winning in the lower levels of USL and A-League. So I think that, and he's just reflective of the community. I think that it would be a perfect fit, and it would be a perfect fit for Mario Balotelli to continue shaping who he is. Whether it's the social media Mario Balotelli, whether it's the political Mario Balotelli, whether it's the soccer player Mario Balotelli, it fits. Montreal is a perfect fit.
Yeah. Will be interesting to see that. One more rumor that's kind of been making the rounds a little bit is former MLS MVP Sebastian Giovinco. He said he wants to get back maybe in Italy. I don't know if it's going to be a top team like a Juventus or Napoli. It's probably going to be one of the lower sides. But John, you saw him up close and personal in MLS. Do you think he should go back to Italy, or should he just return to MLS?
Well, once again, you're talking about a player who left Major League Soccer and got the payday. And now that you've gone, a year and a half since his departure, he's a year and a half older. Who would take him? Where would he play? And that he's not going to accept a lesser role regardless of the part of the planet that he wants to go to. I think that if he went back to Serie A, it would have to be for mid-table or below. And he could be the man there in that case. So, I think that it comes down to seriously, what kind of impact do you want to make? And would you accept a lesser role somewhere else? And I think that we all know the answer to that. He still thinks of himself as a goal scorer. For me, it would have to be, if he wants out of Saudi Arabia, does he go to China and get another paycheck? Because he at that part of his career where he's like, okay, he's hopping from check to check basically because he's getting further along in age. Could he come back to MLS and put some numbers on the board? Sure. But once again, who's going to pay him? in this environment the numbers that he wants to get paid and go forward. And this is the biggest thing for me in all of this. It would have to be an ownership group with deep pockets, regardless of where you are. And the notion that things are going to be a little different, because if you come back over to this side of the Atlantic, it's a year and a half ago. You're looking at year-and-a-half numbers. Yes, I'm fairly certain that someone in their mid-30s could do well here. But once you hit that cliff, it is a steep drop. Where does Giovinco think he is? Where do MLS teams think he is? Where do the European teams think he is? Or is he contract hopping? I think that's the question that we have right now.
Yeah, and Carmen, like he was a guy last year. I think his family was still here.
His family's still in Toronto. His family's still in Toronto. Still, the education system, the life he's probably made enough to cover his family's family. So I think you heard it here first. I think his best move is to come back here, talk to Mike Baldessara, get a stake in the York Nine team, become their DP and owner, coach, manager, equipment manager. I think that's the best move for Giovinco. Let's be honest. His move away from MLS to Saudi Arabia kind of, and I hate to say it because he's been so relevant to a lot of situations in Italy and here, irrelevant. But I think that he's made himself less relevant to the world soccer community to take care of his family, take care of his families, his extended family. And I think that now it's time to settle down for him. And I think this is where he wants to be. Will that mean another contract in the MLS? Will that mean another, lower contract in Toronto? Maybe. But I think that right now he's not as relevant that he might think. And even if he goes to a lower division in Serie A, it's going to be tough going for him, and he knows that. And I'm not sure he wants to work so hard to be. I think he wants to be comfortable right now, and I think that maybe coming back to Toronto is going to be the most comfortable option for him.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Him back in Toronto, scoring goals, lifting trophies, the usual for him. So I'll have to wait and see on that. But John, how can we follow you on social media?
Easiest way is on the Twitter. It's at OST Nelson, also at Soccer Down Here. Don't forget Soccer Down Here and the SDH Network available as I show it here on the TV side of things. There it is. The Soccer Down Here app for the network, available iOS and Android. And don't forget soccerdownhere.net for all the printed word. And let's see, it is Facebook, it is Instagram, it is Twitter, it is soccerdownhere.gmail, soccerdownhere.net, and OST Nelson on my Twitter.
Yeah, that's John Nelson. Give him a follow, OSG Sports. Now, Carmen, how can everyone follow you and FC Edmonton if someone in their representatives are watching? How can they give you that contract offer?
I drive a 2007 Pontiac Vibe. If they ever want to follow me that way, they won't. They don't want to be caught dead following that car. But
7 Toyota Camry, brother, right here. Carmen Asacco on Twitter.
That's it.
And then check out the Wikipedia page. Look at all the accomplishments. If you're a CPL team and you need a coach, he's there. It's gonna be $1 million. The payday coming in. It's gonna be a big sum to get him from York University. I'd like to thank you guys for coming on again, talking soccer, EPL, CPL, and Serie A, MLS. And I hope you have a great weekend.
Be good, y'all.
Take care.